I didn't change my life. I erased it. One name. One city. One identity. Gone. People think disappearing means running away from problems. For me, it meant running away from myself. Because I hated who I had become. Not because I was evil. Not because I was broken. Because I was invisible. My life had turned into a quiet, predictable loop. Wake up. Work. Eat. Sleep. Repeat. No passion. No connection. No sense of meaning. I wasn't living. I was existing. And the worst part, no one noticed. My job didn't need my personality, just my presence. My relationships didn't need my honesty, just my availability. My life didn't need my dreams, just my obedience. I played my role perfectly. And I hated it. Every night, I stared at the ceiling and imagined a different version of myself. A braver one. A freer one. A man who made choices instead of excuses. But imagination never changed anything. Only action does. So I planned something drastic. Not dramatic. Not reckless. Precise. I didn't leave in anger. I didn't leave in pain. I left in silence. New documents. New phone. New name. A different city where no one knew me. I didn't want to be remembered. I wanted to be reborn. The first days felt unreal. No past. No expectations. No history. Just possibility. I rented a small apartment and took a job I didn't care about. Not for money, for anonymity. Nobody asked questions. Nobody cared. That was exactly what I wanted. But something strange happened. Without my old identity, I didn't feel free. I felt empty. Because your name isn't just a label. It's a story. And I had erased mine. At night, I walked through unfamiliar streets, watching strangers live their lives. They had arguments. They had laughter. They had purpose. I had a mask. And masks get heavy. I started lying without thinking. Not maliciously. Automatically. When people asked where I was from, I invented a childhood. When they asked about my family, I created memories. When they asked who I was, I gave them a character. The lies weren't exciting. They were exhausting. Because every lie required maintenance. And I was already tired of maintaining a life once before. Still, I kept going. Because going back meant admitting failure. And I wasn't ready for that. I told myself this was my second chance. But second chances demand growth. I was just hiding. Then I met her. Her name was Claire. She worked at a nearby cafe and had the kind of calm confidence that comes from knowing who you are. We talked. Not about big things. About weather. Music. Life. She didn't try to impress me. She didn't try to fix me. She just existed honestly. And honesty felt dangerous. Because honesty exposes what you're running from. We started spending time together. Walks. Late night conversations. Quiet moments. She saw me as the person I pretended to be. And part of me wanted to become that person for real. But another part of me knew the truth. You can't build something real on a fake foundation. One evening, she asked me a simple question, "Are you happy?" The word hit me harder than expected. Happy. I hadn't asked myself that in years. I think so, I said. She smiled. I didn't. Because I wasn't sure. My new life looked different. But it felt the same. Still empty. Still directionless. Still disconnected. The only difference was the disguise. And disguises eventually crack. The panic returned slowly. Not as fear, as restlessness. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't relax. I couldn't feel grounded. Because I wasn't rooted in anything real. I had no history. No continuity. No truth. One night, I stood in front of the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back. Not because I looked different. Because I was pretending. And pretending is a form of self-betrayal. The realization hurt more than my old life ever did. I hadn't escaped myself. I had multiplied myself. Now there were two versions of me, the man I was. And the man I pretended to be. Neither felt real. Then something unexpected happened. A letter arrived. Not addressed to my new name. To my old one. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a short message from someone who still remembered me. I don't know where you went, but I hope you found what you were looking for. No anger. No blame. Just quiet concern. That was worse than punishment. Because punishment ends. Concern lingers. Suddenly, my escape felt less like freedom. And more like abandonment. I hadn't just left a life. I had left people. Responsibilities. Connections. Consequences. You can change your name. You can change your city. But you can't erase the impact you had on others. And that weight started to crush me. Claire noticed the change. You're distant lately, she said. I wanted to tell her the truth. But truth would destroy the illusion. And I was afraid of losing the only connection I had left. So I lied. Again. That's when I realized something terrifying. I was becoming someone I didn't respect. Not because I was cruel. Because I was cowardly. Running from pain is human. Running from responsibility is something else. My second chance wasn't becoming a new person. It was becoming a more dishonest one. And deep down, I knew it couldn't last. Because identities built on escape always collapse. And mine was starting to crack. The lies started to feel heavier than the life I had abandoned. At first, they were simple. Harmless. Almost creative. But over time, every invented memory demanded consistency. Every fake detail required another. I wasn't just pretending to be someone else anymore. I was maintaining a second existence. And maintaining a lie is exhausting. Claire noticed my tension. You're always somewhere else lately, she said one evening as we sat in her favorite cafe. Like your body is here, but your mind is hiding. She smiled when she said it, but her eyes were searching. I wanted to tell her everything. The name. The escape. The past. But confession doesn't always feel like relief, sometimes it feels like destruction. So I stayed silent. Silence has consequences. They don't arrive immediately. They grow. My sleep became shallow. My thoughts became obsessive. Every unfamiliar face felt like a threat. I started scanning crowds, afraid of recognition. Not because I was famous. But because I was afraid of being known. Being known meant being accountable. And accountability meant facing what I ran from. One afternoon, while walking through the city, I heard my old name. Not loudly. Not clearly. Just enough to make my heart stop. I turned around. Two strangers were talking. They weren't talking about me. But the damage was done. Fear doesn't need proof. It only needs possibility. That night, I had a dream. I was standing in a room full of mirrors. Every reflection showed a different version of me. None of them were real. I woke up shaking. I realized something terrifying. I wasn't afraid of being discovered. I was afraid of being seen. Because being seen meant confronting the emptiness I had been avoiding. Claire and I grew closer. And that made everything worse. Closeness demands honesty. Connection demands truth. She talked about her childhood. Her fears. Her hopes. She was building something real with someone who didn't exist. The guilt wasn't loud. It was constant. One evening, she asked, "Do you ever feel like you're not living your own life?" The question felt like a confession I wasn't ready to give. "I think we all feel that sometimes," I replied. She nodded, but she didn't look convinced. "You don't talk about your past," she said softly. "Not in a normal way. It's like you erased it?" I laughed. "I just don't like looking back." That was the truth. Just not the whole truth. The letter I received earlier stayed in my pocket for days. Unread again and again. Not because I didn't care. Because I cared too much. Someone still remembered me. Someone still wondered. And I had chosen silence over explanation. My second chance had turned into a second disappearance. But this time, I wasn't just abandoning a life. I was abandoning a person who trusted me. The tension reached its peak one night. Claire invited me to meet her friends. "Nothing serious," she said. "Just people who want to know the man I talk about." The man she talked about didn't exist. That terrified me. I almost said no. But refusing would raise questions. So I went. The evening started normally. Laughter. Stories. Music. Then someone asked a simple question, "So where are you really from?" I froze. My rehearsed answer slipped out automatically. But my voice didn't sound convincing. Another question followed. Then another. Not aggressive. Curious. The kind of curiosity that slowly exposes cracks. I felt my identity trembling. Not because they were suspicious. Because I was tired of pretending. At one point, I stepped outside for air. My hands were shaking. The city lights blurred. I realized I wasn't afraid of losing my fake life, I was afraid of being alone again. So when Claire came outside and asked, "Is something wrong?" I almost told her everything. But instead, I said, "I'm just overwhelmed." She hugged me. And that hurt more than rejection ever could. Because she was comforting a lie. The next day, I couldn't breathe in my apartment. The walls felt smaller. The silence felt louder. My reflection felt unfamiliar. I opened the old letter again. Read it slowly. "I hope you found what you were looking for." Had I know I had found a new version of the same emptiness. Just decorated differently. That's when I understood, I didn't abandon my life to become someone else. I abandoned it to avoid becoming myself. And avoidance always comes with a cost. Claire deserved truth. So did I. That night, I invited her over. No cafes. No distractions. Just reality. "I need to tell you something," I said. My voice was steady. My chest wasn't. She sat down, eyes focused, heart open. I took a deep breath. "I'm not who you think I am." The words felt heavier than any suitcase I had ever carried. Her smile faded. "I changed my name," I continued. "I left my past behind. I built a story because I didn't like who I was." Silence filled the room. Not dramatic. Dense. "Why?" she asked quietly. "Because I was ashamed," I said. "Not of what I did. Of what I never became." Her eyes searched my face. Not with anger. With confusion. "Did you lie to me about everything?" "No," I whispered. "I lied about who I was. Not about how I felt." That was the hardest part. My feelings were real. My identity wasn't. She stood up slowly. "I need time," she said. "Not I'm leaving. Not it's over. Just time. Time is both hope and distance." She walked out. The door closed. And for the first time since I disappeared, I felt completely exposed. No mask. No role. No escape. Just me. And the question I had been avoiding, who am I when I stop running? The silence she left behind was louder than any argument. No slammed doors. No accusations. No tears. Just absence. And absence forces you to face yourself. For days, I barely left the apartment. Not because I was afraid of the world. Because I was afraid of my reflection. Without lies, without a role, without a mask, I didn't know who I was supposed to be. I had erased my past to escape shame. But shame followed me anyway. It always does. I checked my phone constantly. No messages from Claire. Not anger. Not forgiveness. Just space. And space is where truth grows. I walked through the city at night, watching people live their honest, messy, imperfect lives. They argued. They laughed. They failed. They stayed. Nobody disappeared from themselves. That's when I realized something painful. I didn't change my identity because I wanted freedom. I changed it because I was afraid to be accountable for my own existence. Responsibility feels heavy when you haven't carried it in a long time. One evening, my phone finally buzzed. A message from Claire. I don't know how to feel. But I appreciate your honesty. No drama. No closure. Just reality. Honesty doesn't always save relationships. But it saves your soul. I replied, I understand. Thank you for listening. And for the first time, I meant it without fear. Because whatever happened next, I wasn't hiding anymore. A week later, I received another letter. Not forwarded. Not redirected. Addressed to my new name. But written by someone from my old life. They had found me. Not to punish me. Not to accuse me. Just to say, we were worried. But we hope you're finally being yourself. That was the moment I understood, people don't need perfection. They need presence. Disappearing didn't protect anyone. It only delayed honesty. So I made a decision. Not to return to my old life. Not to rebuild what was already gone. But to stop running. I didn't change my name back. I didn't erase my new one. I chose something harder. Integration. I stopped pretending my past never happened. I stopped pretending my future needed to be heroic. I allowed myself to be human. Flawed. Unfinished. Real. Months passed. Claire and I spoke again. Not as lovers. As people. Honest people. We didn't rebuild what we had. But we respected what it was. And what it taught us. My life didn't become extraordinary. It became authentic. No masks. No reinvention. No escape plans. Just choices. Every day. Some good. Some painful. But all mine. I finally understood something I had spent years avoiding. You don't need a new identity to start over. You need the courage to stay visible in your own life. Disappearing feels powerful. But being present is braver. I didn't abandon my life to become someone else. I abandoned my lies to become myself. And that was the only second chance that ever mattered.